It's so easy to make slop, but also it's so easy to accept slop. And if you want to have a role in the future, and you're building your future now, is be the defender of this block.
While the world is going to change, the part that isn't going to change is that people want things that are authentic and real and connected to the human experience. And so I think we're going to see a growing value on like unique human points of view on things.
Thank you so much, guys, for taking time out of your hugely busy schedule. Tell us what's new. Give us your headlines.
I mean, I'm still at Google. I'm working on Android in the Android XR team, working on synthetic data, humans, and training algorithms with synthetic data. Basically, training the algorithm that destroyed my job.
You know, if you were to talk to yourself when you were 19 years old, what would you say, given what you know about AI tools, VR tools, and so on?
I know that the AI thing is a little intimidating because we're in a situation where nobody knows the answer. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Everybody can see that we're standing at this kind of cliff edge and that we're all going to have to jump off the cliff, and nobody's quite sure what does that mean and how's it going to happen and what are the consequences in it, because it's all foggy down under the cliff and we don't know, and we don't really know what's going to happen. And so accepting that is kind of the first step, because it's not like this hasn't happened before. So I remember I used to work at IBM, and I talked to an electrical engineer who was an older guy who worked there, and he explained how when he went to school, he studied electrical engineering, and the primary focus was all about vacuum tubes and the physics of vacuum tubes, because that's what it meant to be an electrical engineer. And then, like, the year he graduated, the transistor came out.
I think we lost you a little bit, Jesse. You know, he does this, Luca. He stops in the middle of a big thought and teases us. He did it on purpose. I know he did.
I know. It's a trick. It's the art of VFX.
It is.
I can pick up until it comes back.
Yeah. Go ahead, take it.
I think he was hitting an interesting point. You know, you don't know what's coming, and so what are the tools that you equip yourself to for this? I think thriving in ambiguity is definitely something that was important for me 40 years ago when I started in computer graphics, and it's still important today because things changes constantly. The tools evolve. One observation that I made in the past is that I grew up in the VFX community and the word and VFX and a lot of the tools that we built came from inside, from the need of artists and engineers talking together. Some of these tools apparently are coming from a different place, and so there's also a struggle among the artists and the technicians to adopt them because they were not designed from the inside. At least that's my take. So the VFX community has been constantly creating tools that are somehow similar to the one that we are using that we are seeing with Gen AI, but they were coming from the needs from inside, from the effects of a movie or a commercial or a project, whatever. Here we have some big companies saying, "Hey, we stumbled on this, and look what we have, and you know, fit it into your pipeline or die." And so that I feel that is different, and that has created more chaos than else. But we are, I mean, companies like ours are trying to put together artists and engineers so that they can design the next iteration to be more comfortable for us.
the exciting thing is that nobody knows what's happening next, and that means that, like, okay, get in there and start experimenting, start trying stuff, because nobody knows. If you get in there, you know, not too long ago it was hard to get a job because, oh no, I don't have 8 years of experience in this. Well, guess what? Nobody has 8 years of experience in AI. If you show up with 3 months of experience of fooling around with AI tools, guess what? You are up. You are probably better off than most people in the marketplace. The advantage here is going to go to the people who kind of have initiative to jump in and start playing around with stuff. Because while the world is going to change, the part that isn't going to change is that people want things that are authentic and real and connected to the human experience. And so I think we're going to see a growing value on, like, unique human points of view on things. I think we're going to see a real growth in that. So, you know, we'll figure it out. We always do, but the path won't be straightforward. So if you're excited about exploring, this is a very exciting time. If you don't like exploring, you just want someone to tell you what to do, this will be a harder time for you. But if you can get comfortable exploring and trying some crazy stuff, this is the right time to do it, because so much is possible that just was never possible before.
And Luca, do you have any?
No, I agree 1,000,000%. I mean, I was just interviewed last week in an Italian newspaper, and I was saying agency, dedicating your time. I mean, when I started, I went to a small 40 years ago to a small studio, and I said, "This is what I want to do," and I learned the ropes there. And this is that you need to jump that level, and you need to equip yourself with all these tools and curiosity and study. I'm joking that the two voices of Notebook LM are the smartest people I know these days, because they explain me a lot of things every day when I take the dog for a walk, and I drop in a paper and it says, "Can you tell me what the hell is going on?" And I don't stop looking at this. So you have to do the same. Surround yourself with other people that are curious like you, and explore together if possible. That stimulates each other. These tools are there to stay. They're not gonna go away. They're gonna get better, but they need to reveal something in you that makes you unique, and makes you valuable and relevant in this upcoming job market.
I also want to echo that, we have you guys up on the big screen celebrating you as the pinnacle of what you want to become someday. I witnessed both of you failing beautifully, but Luca, you started an app company called Curious Hat, and it didn't make $1 million, but you sure learned a lot from it. And Jesse, you've never made a mistake, as far as I know.
I make mistakes. Oh, I make mistakes all day, Warren. My God, I mean, like, people are like, "Oh man, you made this game in VR and that game in VR. I love both of those. Wow, everything you do there works." I'm like, "Yeah, what about the other 28 games we put out that really flopped out, that nobody even pays attention to or knows about?" Like, that's, yeah, no, it's you just have to you just have to get out there and make stuff. You don't know what's gonna. Nobody knows what's going to work and not work.
Can't go any farther without admitting that one of our students is intently playing Toontown right now.
All right.
Some emulator, and Kiera, you're going to send Jesse $5. Is that how that works?
I don't think that works.
Jesse's got to get his car fixed. All right, come on, we got to. Does any of you guys have questions?
Hey, hello. I'm a huge fan of Toontown. Like, I grew up that game, and I'm yeah, it's just amazing that they were able to get it rewritten. But I wanted to ask how you felt about when they when Walt Disney shut it down.
Yeah, that was, I mean, it was a real bummer. I mean, there's sort of two phases to the shutdown. One of them was inevitable and the other was not. The one that was inevitable was the market changed. When Toontown came out, subscription-based MMOs were a viable thing, and Toontown was like one of the first ones for kids, and okay, and so that worked, and that worked for several years. But then eventually that just wasn't, mobile came out, kids had other free ways to engage with things. No one was interested in paying subscription MMOs anymore. So that just wasn't going to work anymore, and it would there wasn't a clear way to kind of make that leap over into that. So that part was inevitable. There was a part that was less inevitable where for complicated reasons, Disney decided to put all their energy into Club Penguin and take all the energy away from their other games. And so that ended up kind of being kind of tough. That was honestly the tougher part to take. When the world changes, okay, that's a little sad, but the world changes. When people are making changes for these sort of weirder internal reasons, that was a little more frustrating.
Both of you guys are pioneers. I mean, it's been fun to watch you experiment, and you know, I learned about Jesse Schell. First time I heard the name Jesse Schell was in Toontown when I reviewed it, and I thought this thing is incredible. So you're both magic makers, and you know, it's you've made your dust, but you certainly made magic in pushing that envelope of Kaylin, I know you've got some illustrations. We've got several artists here. Anybody who wants to say anything, go ahead and take over the screen and show these guys stuff for feedback. Anything you want.
I've got a question for Jesse.
Go ahead.
So I work at Alta VR, and
can you introduce yourself real quickly?
Oh yes, sir. So hello, I'm Aiden. I study interactive multimedia and computer science. I specialize in game development, and I have an internship working in VR for Alta VR, working on Reeve, which is like in a big extraction, medieval extraction game where you like go into dungeons, fight monsters and stuff.
Cool.
The company's previously made a Township Tale, if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my boss has spoken very, very highly of you, Tima and Sheshkin, if you.
Yeah, that's cool.
But I was wondering, so getting into the VR space now, I know it's a bit different than it was like 5-10 years ago. Would you recommend anything specific with getting into it as a new grad?
Well, I mean the thing to understand is it's going to go through a lot of changes over the next 5 years. We're going to see a lot of dramatic changes because it had been in a certain place where some things were working, some things weren't working, and now that is pivoting, and I think we're going to even see more pivot. And it's kind of hard to say exactly what's really going to work and what's not. I'd argue this is probably a pretty good time to start looking towards getting into it because it's we're kind of in a VR winter right now where a lot of people are like, well, I guess that didn't work, I'm walking away. But we know that the winter isn't going to last. We know that all this new stuff is coming, and if you can kind of be there and ready for when all the new stuff happens, you'll be ready for when those opportunities show up. But it's going to require a little bit of patience because we don't know exactly what's going to bear fruit the soonest.
I love the VR winter idea. Just we were talking about reading the trends. Aiden also worked with Emmett for a while, right, over at Story Toys. Internship. So, and are you going to ETC for a visit, Aiden?
I'm going to GDC. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll be going to your talk. Jesse.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
All right. I better finish writing it. Yeah, you give me a reason. So.
Yeah. All right. Awesome, Aiden. Thanks for that question. Anybody else for Luca or Jesse?
Actually, I got a question for Luca.
Yeah.
Luca, can you talk? Can you talk? Like, I'm trying to understand. You talked about what you're working on, and I didn't quite get it. Can you kind of explain it in a little more detail?
Thank you.
Okay. So the last 12 years at Google, where I joined I need to kind of draw the arc to frame it. I joined Google a project called Spotlight Stories. At the time, in 2014, we were making Google was created this technology and this project inside a group called ATAP. That it was like a kind of a moonshot factory similar to X inside Google. And then and Spotlight Stories was a project to explore immersive storytelling, non-linear storytelling. So there was people from Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, and others, and Google would pay the best directors in the world and the best studios to tell stories in a non-interactive way, in a interactive way, non-linear way. So we created a technology. You could run it on the phone initially, and the story changes where you look around. Then it was the VR with the early VR headset at the time. And so on. And then I moved into Daydream. There was the Google VR team that was born in around that time. And I built, for 5 years, I built prototypes of every week. So from Monday to Friday, we will build a prototype, anything that we wanted to build to explore possible use cases of VR and AR and XR for the leadership. Not a specific project or product, but just like inspire. So basically, in the early days of 2016 until 2019, 20, building a lot of prototypes, hundreds of prototypes of every possible use case of these technology. So I experienced spring before winter.
Yeah.
And then I move into a team that created synthetic data for machine learning for training the algorithm, eye tracking, face tracking, body tracking, word recognition. So all the foundational technologies that are needed for some of these devices to understand the word. So basically, that kind of ties to my previous 17 years spent at DreamWorks, where I was making movies. So now I'm making movies for an algorithm. So every day, we feed and generate millions of images to make the algorithm smarter. And that's where basically I'm continuously changing and evolving. But even the way I do synthetic data is very different from 4 years ago, from 2 years ago. The tools are changing very quickly.
Luca, what the heck is synthetic data?
Synthetic data is any type of data that is needed to either unblock an algorithm before we create. So if the system has to, we need to train an eye tracking system. You may not have the exact hardware already designed or a spec, so you need to create millions and millions of images of eyes in 3D that looks exactly like the one that the sensor will pick up when the hardware and the software will be built.
Okay.
And you need to create data that looks like real before it gets there, or you augment the data. I mean, there was a post recently of Waymo, adding an elephant on a street with Vio and Nano Banana. So you augmenting the images to create situations that not necessarily are common. So either you have to generate reality in a synthetic way with computer graphics and in many different ways. Before, it was a traditional pipeline that looked like making a movie in VFX or a feature film. And these days, the line is very blurry. And yeah, so sometimes you jumpstart the development of an algorithm. Sometimes you improve the quality. Sometimes you mix and match with data from real. Yeah.
Cool.
Otherwise, those the eye tracking and the hand tracking that you want on your glasses or VR headset, that doesn't work.
Thank you, Professor Schell, for answering that or asking that question. Jesse, what classes are you teaching?
Right now, I'm only kind of part-time over there, but I'm teaching the game design class at the moment. Last semester, Warren, I think you know, Barb Chamberlain and I continue to work on the art of educational game design, and we're hoping to have the draft finished this year. We're hoping to get that done. And in the fall, I taught an independent study with a number of students where we kind of tried out a lot of that material, and that went pretty well.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. Barbara Chamberlain, another phenomenal person. Anybody else got anything you want to show or get feedback on? Well, we got to do this. Yeah, Kira.
You know that you were ready to like pitch the idea of Toontown to Walt Disney, or how did you know that the company was ready for that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's right. It's a good question. And I honestly don't think they were ready, but that's okay. So it was very much a survival kind of situation. So I was working at the Disney virtual reality studio in the 90s, because believe it or not, VR is not new. It's been around a long time. And we'd been building this thing called Disney Quest, which was Disney's VR theme park. But we knew how it worked at the Walt Disney Company. We knew that when this thing was done, they were probably going to fire everybody, because that's just how it works. Like, hey, you're done with that. You guys we'll let you all go. We didn't want to be let go. So we kept staring at like, well, how are we going to be relevant? And at the time, the internet was the hotness. It was the late 90s, and everyone was trying to figure out what is the internet and like, what is it for? And we saw that there was an opportunity. It seemed like it would make sense for Disney to get into family-oriented MMOs. Felt like it would make a lot of sense because we could see that was a thing that was coming. And so we just started pitching that as a thing that should happen. And it was a little crazy because there was no easy way. Like, we knew we needed about $5 million to get the game out the door. But there was no easy way to get $5 million. There were ways you could get $500,000, and there were ways you could get $100 million, but there was no good way to get $5 million. So we're like, well, let's see if we can go get $100 million. And so we did that. We focused on this. We made this big pitch all about the future of video games is the online theme park. And of course, Disney cares about theme parks. So we made this big pitch all about that. And we pitched it and pitched it and pitched it. And eventually we got to the very top of the company. We're pitching the CEO. And he says, well, this makes some sense, but we're not going to put $100 million into this. But I don't know, we might put a couple million into it. And we were like, cool. And so that was how we did it. And we started with Toontown. We actually didn't start with Toontown. We started with Atlantis, which was the hot movie at the time, Disney's Atlantis. They really believed, it hadn't come out yet, they really believed it was going to be the big hit of the world. They thought it was going to be their Indiana Jones. And so we were like, let's get on that train. So we were pitching Atlantis, the online empire. And the Atlantis people told us, like, look, this thing's going to be really big and successful. We don't want you game guys messing it up, so get out of here. So we're like, oh, okay. So we went and said, well, nobody cares about this Toontown thing. Let's focus on that. And so that was kind of how we got to that concept. There's a lot more complicated ideas about how we actually got it pitched and everything, but that's most of it.
You were a Disney Imagineer, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So you were working with in the context of the Disney umbrella and sort of, and then this professor from Carnegie Mellon named Randy Pausch came down, apparently, according to your Wikipedia page.
Yeah, right. So I mean, the way I came to Carnegie Mellon was Randy Pausch was a CMU professor who wanted to do a sabbatical at Disney, and my boss came to me one day and said, "Hey, this professor's going to come. Can you help him stay out of trouble?" And so, okay, so I helped him with some things. Yeah, we got to know each other quite a bit, and it was cool because he kind of brought me into the world of conferences and speaking and all that stuff. And then he started the Entertainment Technology Center at Carnegie Mellon, and we stayed in touch. And I'd started hiring people out of that program when I was at Disney, and I was so impressed with the grads out of that program that I became curious about it. And ultimately, like, I'd wanted to move back to the East Coast, and reached out to him and said, "Hey, were you interested in having me come to Carnegie Mellon?" And that all worked out.
And just wait until you meet the grads from TCNJ, because we rock, right, you guys?
Yeah.
Luca, can you tell? I know we got to wrap it here, guys. Luca, can you tell us one story from Shrek and what that was, the wild train ride you've been on?
Oh, Shrek was the second movie that I work on. I work on Ants first in '96. But Shrek was 10 times more complicated than Ants at the time, and it was one of the first movies done in computer graphics. So we were kind of inventing things as we were trying to produce the movie. We didn't know exactly what we were building. The movie had a previous history that was failing in test before, in terms of look and technology, and so we had to kind of build muscles and bones for ogres and cloth simulation and a lot of other effects, and I was in charge of the co-supervising the character technology. So all this technology for facial animation and muscles and bones and cloths.
Didn't you win an award for that?
Yeah, it was the first Oscar. So yeah, so we got the Oscar for that, and then when I was at Google, Pearl got an Emmy. So
yeah, we haven't talked about, Jesse. Have you seen Pearl?
I haven't seen Pearl.
Yeah. This is gonna be required viewing for all you guys. And it's so funny because you guys are a little bit old. I'm a little bit older than you. I know what emotional waterfall you're gonna go over when your kids go to college, but Pearl just hit me right in the heart. I mean, and that really inspired me.
Yeah, Pearl was a strange experiment. I mean, it was mostly the director vision. This idea. I mean, we were exploring this idea of nonlinear storytelling, so that we build an engine that allows the story to branch depending on a bunch of triggers, like if you look somewhere or something. But he decided to ground the whole story on, there is a car, there is the dad's car that gets passed to the daughter. There is the music as a common theme, and you spend your point of view is from the middle of the stick shift in the car, and you can look around. Everything happens on the front and the back seats of the car and outside the windows, but you never move from there. But you can watch the story from just staring at the back seat all the time, and despite that, people are crying inside the VR headset. And I'm still very emotional when I look at that. Like you said, because it's a story of the relationship. But the story is important, even if you have a constraint of a fixed point of view where you can just only pivot around. There was something different than we usually do, because usually the director tried to find the nice frame, and here it's like the focal length doesn't change and the position of the camera doesn't change. You can only pivot.
And I can tell you now, guys, getting back to Jesse's Crystal Ball Society, I'm now a grandparent. I have 3 little grandsons that I was with over the weekend, and it never ends. The emotions and so on. Hopefully you'll have that ahead of you and so on. But what I see when I look on this Zoom screen is 2 young guys who are just getting started, and it's so glad that we could pull you together. Robin, you had a question, and we got to wrap, though. We got to get these guys back to thinking the future.
I do have a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, you can't see me, but I don't know, somewhere behind the.
Yeah, I guess it.
Yep. Hi. So I had a question about, I think it's interesting that Jesse, and this is a question for both of you because you're both experts in this field. So it's interesting that Jesse brought up kind of getting ahead in AI as it starts because it's a new field and you don't necessarily have to have years and years of experience. And I do agree with that sentiment of getting in on a new technology from the ground floor. One pressure that I think a lot of new graduates face, and I don't know if this is specifically my experience or a lot of people's, but a lot of people, specifically from like Gen Z, face a lot of pressure from people from kind of the almost moral controversy of AI is how I would put it. There's a very big number of people who outright detest it, actually. I'm not saying my opinion on it. This is more thing to the point where there's even like big names in games like Expedition 33 and ARC Raiders, even if they use it for very small things like Expedition 33, disclose that they use it to generate code. ARC Raiders disclosed that they'd used it to generate some voice lines. It got completely review bombed and almost completely like shunned by people. So I feel like for new graduates, especially, there's a very big almost pressure in two different directions of one to embrace
the future or the past. Those are your choices. Yeah.
But there's also the huge moral almost pressure for it. So I'm wondering, how would you navigate that as a new grad for both of your opinions on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to decide for yourself, right? You could let everyone else decide for you and just do what they say. Like, and if that's your thing, just do that. But if you want to decide for yourself, you need to decide for yourself what you think is going to be right and is going to help the world the most. Luke, I'm curious if have some similar stories, but like I remember when I was at Disney in the 90s and computer animation was relatively new, there was a deep hatred of it. It was sort of a disgusting idea. Like, really? Like, animation is meant to be done by hand. It's a human endeavor. You're going to have the computer do the animation? Disgusting. First of all, it's going to take jobs. So there'll be no animators with jobs anymore. And then secondly, it'll be soulless. You'll never be able to make anyone feel emotion with this like computer generated animation. Disgusting. And many people stayed away from it. John Lasseter, for example, had to leave Disney because he was advocating for computer animation at Disney. And everyone was like, gross. No, we refuse. Gross. Get out. And so he left and went, and that's how he got involved with Pixar. But when we look backwards with looking at the, in the rearview mirror, what did happen? Did it steal jobs? No. Like, look at the number of animators in the credits from movies in the 90s and look at the number of animators in the credits of movies now. There's way more, right? Because when technology enables more, we do more with it. We just don't know what all that is yet. So I understand it. I understand that people are going to have these objections. And are there moral issues? Yeah, absolutely. And you have to just figure out, like, what do you care about? Where are you going to draw the line? And I'll throw one out here. Warren, obviously a big fan of Mr. Rogers. My favorite quote from Mr. Rogers was, I got into television because I hated it so. And I believe that there was a way to use the medium in order to nurture and help people. And so that's the thing I kind of bring to people when it comes to AI. It's like, who's going to be the person who hates AI so much that they get into it in order to make sure that it's a force for good? Because if you just avoid it, you're just leaving it to the people who don't care.
Absolutely. Fight. To me, is like fight for quality. Like this false dichotomy. Like we are giving these tools to everybody. It's like you talk to some engineers. Like, I want the button that makes a movie. You press a button, it makes a movie. And it's like, well, but you have no idea what telling a story and means. It's like so fight for mediocrity. for bad content, for bad stories. Learn, sell the quality of your work and not how you made it. We like you said, DreamWorks was founded to make 2D animation, fight against Disney. PDI and 3D movies were an afterthought.
They're wrapping up the meeting. Add in pogoing. Oh.
Hey, I think you're unmuted. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
So motion capture was supposed to destroy animators. Digital ink and paint was supposed to destroy traditional 2D animation and stuff. But at the end, quality. The problem is that we are floating the content, the content with the mediocre at best content, and we are allowing the next generation to think that this is good and is good quality. And so I hope that we're gonna fight for high quality storytelling and content, and then we'll see the best artists and engineers excel in these.
I wanted to say something. Well, I just want to comment on I don't think that you can compare this current Gen AI push to the advent of 3D animation and digital animation. That's because digital animation still has a handcraft thing to it. You have to put in like literal handwork. And even though there are things with 3D animation that do automate some parts, it's automating the tedious things, and it's also you have to first make sure and make things like beforehand for the automation. Like when people do the such as Brave's incredible hair physics, that required an immense amount of work. But not just that, there's also the baked in animation that works with the physics. And this all still requires an immense amount of work, and it also requires like actual understanding of artistic merits, things such as like everything that has to do with art. Generative AI, for me, when I look at it and I look at all the ways that it's been used in ways to reduce the workload directly, and also it simply does not, and by definition cannot, require the same skills that other forms of animation or art, et cetera, do.
It's a question of where do you want to put and spend your time, right? Is the craft different? Yes, the craft will be different. Can it do things that you might want to do? It can, but if you want to do them, do them. If you think it makes a difference to do that, if it's actually going to shape the work in a way that's important, do that. I think about a story from so Ray Harryhausen, is that a name you know? Maybe he was an animator from the 20th century, famous for stop motion. One of his famous movies was Mighty Joe Young, right? It was from the 30s, and they made a remake in the 90s, and they brought Ray Harryhausen in to come and give feedback and commentary on it. And they're touring him around, and they're showing him, say, hey, look, okay, see this team here, they're doing all the digital hair, and this team, they're doing all the digital musculature, and this team, they're doing the eyes, and they show them the whole thing, and they say, well, look at this. Can you believe it? Harry, your little movie ended up spawning all of this. What do you think of this, Ray? And Ray Harryhausen says, wow, I mean, this is incredible. You found a way for 85 people to do the work of 2 men. And when you compare the work of like, well, what was happening like on the original one versus the animated one, like, yeah, it's really different. Like, are the Ray Harryhausen might argue that, like, yeah, you're not sculpting the model anymore, you're not making it by hand, you're not shaping it by hand anymore, and you could argue that something's being lost, but it's just different. And we see modern things where people are doing stop motion animation by hand because people feel and see the value of that in some cases. So can you use these tools to make slop? Sure, you can. Just like you can do that with computer generated animation. So now it's a choice though. And so now the choice matters more. It used to be you didn't have the choice. The only way to do it was to stick your hands in there. Now you've got different ways to do it. Now the choice, I think, matters more is what I would argue personally.
I agree a million percent. So this is a drawing from Glenn Keane, one of the master of Walt Disney, did one of the shorts. Every single line in pencil here has a meaning, has an emotion. Currently, the tools, the Gen AI tools, cannot do that. Cannot do what I've seen Glenn drawing. But even when they get there, like be the knight that understand what these lines meant and what they were there for, and defend them, and require that those emotions are in these tools, and use them to tell those stories. Don't settle for a mediocre result just because it's convenient to prompt your way. Study these fundamentals. Studies why these lines were there. Study what made a performance in an actor, or the way a camera is moved by the best cinematographer, and use these tools to push this technology forward, and not backward. Because, like you said, it's so easy to make slop, but also it's so easy to accept slop. And if you want to have a role in the future, and you're building your future now, is be the defender of this quality.
Well, Luca, do you have a couch that we can all stay on if we come out to visit you?
Yeah, the couch is on the other side of the shop.
Road trip is
all right. Road trip.
Where my son is playing that game that you guys just mentioned, the whatever is the Swedish game with fighting and.
Oh, Expedition 33.
Expedition.
Oh, yeah.
No, Ark Riders.
Yeah.
Oh, Ark Riders. Okay.
I actually haven't played it, but I know of it.
Yeah, we'd love to. I keep telling people, go to Schell Games, go check it out. Can we come visit you, Jesse? Is that all right if students show up?
It's maybe don't just show up, but definitely there are ways to visit. It's the best way. I think we're having an open house in May. If you go to our website and sign up for the newsletter, you'll get information about that. That's the easiest way to visit.
The older I get, the more I drift closer to humanism, which is what Fred Rogers was, and that making goodness attractive, because we owe it to the next generation, right? So we want to make the world a better place, and we have so much potential. The tools that we have, previous generation only could have dreamed of. Thank you guys so much for taking a bit of your time. I know you're so busy. Can I ask the TCNJ Alliance to give a proper golf clap?